A letter from the front. The following is a copy of a letter from Private A. Hughes, who is a member of the 1st Victorian Contingent in South Africa, Enslin, the 22nd of December 1899. Dear comrades, I will now write you a letter as promised. I am writing from a camp on the line of communication of the name of Enslin, about 15 miles from Modder River, where all the fighting took place lately. We are encamped with 1 battalion of Gordon Highlanders, and they are really good sorts. Of course, it is pretty rough here. If you want any beer or anything like that, you have to get up a subscription and send right down to Orange River for it, a distance of 50 miles. Well, I will start from when we left the medic at Cape Town. We marched out straight away to a place called Maitland and pitched our tents alongside the New Zealanders. But they only had time to give us a bit of a war whoop by way of a greeting as they left the next morning for the front. We had a couple of days breaking into hard tucker and hard work at Maitland with a lot of men of the Royal Horse Artillery. And then we got on board the train to Cape Town. We changed our rifle for Lee Enfield magazine ones and started off to DR for the night by the train. On arrival, we were told we had to go straight to the front, so we did not alight. Reaching Orange River next morning, we pitched camp and stayed there 3 days. Here we had some Boer prisoners, among who was a fellow who hoisted the white flag and then shot the man who went up to take him prisoner. He was wounded and they were doctoring him up for execution. He was shot a week afterwards. The prevailing note of this work is treachery, and you do not know who to trust. The other night at Pretoria West, some of the Munster Fusiliers caught a Hottentot up a telegraph pole cutting the wires. They put 20 shots into him like a possum. The railway station master at Belmont was caught with treasonable correspondence in his possessions, together with the fittings and parts of a Maxim gun which he was smuggling into the Boers. He was shot 5 minutes afterwards. How would you like to be on a train in the hands of a man like that? Since then they have arrested another station master for a similar offence. While we were at Orange River, we got word that a party of Boers was near Belmont. As there was no train, we started out on the march. When we got 11 miles out, a train came along with a detachment of Gordons and engineers, and they informed us that the line further up along had been blown up. While they went on and repaired the line, we put on a record march of 23 miles in marching order with mule transport. With all that, we missed the enemy. They had cleared out after smashing the line. This country is covered with little hills and ranges which cover the retreat of a small body, and these hills are covered with stones, forming a natural defence of such kind that 100 determined men could hold them against 1,000 easily. However, the British took the place. We next camped at Belmont, which is a veritable Gibraltar, where 10,000 British drove out 13,000 Boers in 4.5 hours. The Boer shooting is very hard, very bad to say the best of it. One man was found a little sanga with his head knocked off, and 300 empty cartridges were found beside him. In other places where 3 or 4 men have been together, you could get a bag full of empty cases. During our 3-day camp at Belmont, we went around and saw all the refuse of war, old saddles, broken guns, etc., strewn about in all directions. Also some dead Boers, which the shells had killed and almost buried in one act. Some had a hand or foot sticking up out of the smash, and the odour was something awful, being almost as bad as a live Boer. We left Belmont at 1 o'clock in the morning of Sunday the 10th and marched to Enslin, a distance of 11 miles, and immediately started on outpost duty and digging trenches. I might mention that I have 1 stripe back from the 2 which I cast off at Castlemaine. In the afternoon we heard cannon in the direction of Modder River. It was the start of a big battle at Muggersfontein, in which our troops suffered severely. That night the New South Welsh infantry came up by train in the midst of heavy rain. The drops were as large as shillings and pattered on the tents like hailstones. The rain lasted for a couple of hours. The Australian troops are in one battalion under Colonel Hode. Next morning went up one of the hills, or koppies as they are called, and with the aid of glasses could see the battle in progress. We could see the flash from a gun, and then a shell would burst on the hill. We afterwards saw the infantry advance and the rifle fire. On the following day we learned of the death trap into which the Highland Brigade had been drawn, only that the men lay down on their faces in the long grass, they would have been annihilated. They were in this predicament for 7 hours. The Black Watch men were put out of the running and the Seaforths lost heavily, but the Gordons were more fortunate as they were in the third line.
Stop recording.
All the survivors had the backs of their legs badly burned by the sun. Some had blisters as large as your fist. If a man moved, there was a shower of bullets around him instantly. There must have been some terrible mistakes, as the men were led right up to the trenches in the dark in quarter column. Some of the Gordons who were here for a rest state there was a red light on the left of the hill, and as they got to a certain point the light turned white for an instant and then went out. Immediately the whole hill belched death upon the British at no more than 50 yards distance.
Here I am in Bendigo, outside the magnificent Shamrock Hotel. Heritage listed 1897. It's fantastic. I remember coming past this Shamrock Hotel one time headed up north to see my sister at Lake Boga, and seeing this monument and slamming on the brakes and saying, I think that's a Boer War monument. That's where we are today, so we're going to have a quick look. Probably one of the more impressive monuments in Victoria, this and the one in Ballarat, as far as statues go, you know, sculptures. Of course, looking pretty cool today. One has to maintain one's appearances. So beautiful weather in Bendigo, a few clouds, about 25. And over to the left of the monument is a sort of a little war museum thing. I remember I went there once and they turned me away because I had Millie, my dog, in my arms, and I formed a bit of resentment with them. But Millie is no longer with us, so we'll go and see if they're open. Maybe they've got some Boer War stuff in there. Right, off we go. Bendigo is an old gold town, founded on the gold rush. Just magnificent old buildings here, and it's green, it's leafy. Okay, there's the fella there, he's looking at me. Looks like he's got his Lee Enfield, if that's what he's got. Oh, there's a car. There we are. He's pretty good. Bendigo's tribute to the memory of Australian soldiers who in the South African War of 1899 to 1902 gave their lives for Queen and Empire. There he is. Not too different in the dress style from the diggers that went to World War One. There is also a magnificent statue of Victoria in these parks, but that's the rear view. It's got those putties, I think they call them, on his legs. Water bottle, a satchel, a bit like my satchel I carry. And it looks very demanding. They've got no names or anything on this monumental. I think there might be others in Bendigo we could discover, but this is it for the moment. So